channel, JC Soul Gems. Jade Crystal here. I'm just getting everything ready. Let's wait for a few people to pop on. Okay, so I am just trying to figure out how to get the chat. All right, well, I don't really know all the things for live yet, but let's do this. So I'm going to pull up my notes because, of course, I meditated before this session. So we're continuing with the shadow integration series. So this is number 5 in the series, and this is about forgiveness. So, forgiveness. Forgiveness. It's okay. So it's one of the most powerful healing tools in our arsenal, and it's one of the hardest ones because, especially if you've gone through really dark things in your life, it can be really hard to forgive. Now I'm going to position this as my favorite thing. You'll always hear me talking about forgiveness is a gift to yourself. You are drinking poison and expecting the other person to die when you will not forgive. We think that it's protecting us, we think that it's helping us, but you have already gone through that experience. So when you don't forgive, it's not protecting you. It's literally keeping that pattern alive inside of you. And because we are magnets, living magnets, you're magnetizing more of those experiences because the universe says yes to whatever you think and you believe and you respond to. So it's bringing you more of whatever you're looking at and whatever you're believing in your experience to prove yourself right, because that's how the law of attraction works. That's how our you can just scroll along if you don't like it, if it's not for you guys. I don't understand why people have nothing better to do. But anyway, so if you're like if you are stuck in unforgiveness and you are looping around your trauma, there's many different layers of it. So you want to go watch the rest of the series because there's mother wounds, there's father wounds, there's inner child work to do, and there's shame and guilt patterns to do. And at the end of that, you want to, or at the beginning, it just really depends on the person. You want to come into the forgiveness piece. The forgiveness piece is, oh my goodness. It's not a religious channel. I believe in loveism. I've studied many different religions. I believe in Jesus, of course, and angels. And that's a lot of my guidance. That's how I've done a lot of my healing work. I do quantum energetics. Thank you. That's very sweet. Quantum energetics with people, and this is what I offer: deep cellular healing. Most people come to me when they've tried everything else, or they'll be activated star seeds and advanced souls on their path, and they'll be on a spiritual journey of awakening, and I'm helping them unlock the next layers and pieces, and I am helping them to unlock the next parts of the of their journey and of what their soul is trying to convey to them. So I believe in soul. I believe in that energy is information in motion, and that we have an auric field that is the body, mind, heart, and spirit. And then when you work in those layers, Thank you. That's fine. Um, So, yeah, if this is not for you, this isn't going to be for everyone. These are for specific collective people that are looking to integrate their shadows. Now, if you're an advanced soul on a higher spiritual path right now, you're going to be really tuned in to the collective unfoldment right now. You're already going to be doing your spiritual work, and you're going to feel that the collective is being called to integrate their shadows right now. Now, whether you understand the language with which I'm speaking, your soul has brought you here. Your soul is called out from my soul, and they have connected, and they have brought you here to have this transmission. The energy within my field and my connection to divinity and my work within that, it speaks to your energy field. And all of this invisible communication that's constantly going on is what shapes our world. But we have been taught a world that doesn't account for soul anymore and doesn't account for this side of things. So the people that are going to truly consciously understand this are going to be advanced souls, because your vibe attracts your tribe, and that's what I am. And you're going to be looking for your next layers and pieces to clean up your energy field so you can powerfully manifest, so you can create a life of fulfillment. A lot of you that I'm talking to in this particular series are going to be starseeds that front loaded your karma, and you are going to have had a pretty rough go of things. You know, but in that, you're going to have kept the goodness of your heart. So you're going to have kept the goodness in your heart, and you're going to have evolved within your spiritual gifts within these challenges and deep adversities that you have lived. Now, some of the stuff that I'm going to be talking about today are going to be trigger warnings. There is going to be trauma in your field that you are not going to want to meet. Some of you are going to, because this is a collective kind of message, there's going to be different layers and different people finding this at different parts of their path. So some of you might just be coming out some of that darkness, and there might be a really, really hard things to forgive, like almost unspeakable things to forgive for some of you. And then there's going to be other parts of you that you just got to do little forgiveness cleanups, right? Now, often when I'm working in one-on-one sessions with my clients, which I've been doing for 3 decades now, the forgiveness piece that we start, it's actually a list that sometimes, well, a lot of the times takes people 2 to 3 weeks to actually build. And it's not just that initial forgiveness piece is very, very deep. It's not just about forgiving the biggest atrocities of your life. That's not even where you have to start, but it's about like, so it's about like, it's about getting your energetic cleanup started. Okay. So even like forgiveness can start with low level pieces of things that irritate and things that annoy you. And things in your day to day that even times where you were constantly saying yes when you wanted to say no, that's going to create forgiveness inside of you. Maybe you made mistakes. Maybe there's things you regret in your life. These are pieces and energetic entanglements that will end up holding us back when we don't forgive them. Now, forgiveness is such a loaded word because it is so tied to religion. And obviously, people talk about it all the time because it's a real activator. It's a real key piece to your spiritual evolution, your spiritual involvement, and just your inner peace and harmony. It is one of the keys to living a fulfilled and deeply meaningful life, right? And so you might hear some of those stories of like just atrocities committed in genocides or, murders and things like that. And the family went and forgave the person who infiltrated all of that. And there's a reason for that, because it frees them. When you carry around anger and hate and revenge and even remorse, pieces of remorse or resentment is huge. Those things fester in the body. And I've talked about this in other parts of the series, that when the mind is not at ease, it is disease, right? Dis-ease. The mind is not at ease. So when you have those layers going on inside of your frequency, you actually can start to manifest them, especially because the bulk majority of us does not have conscious awareness. We are not even engaging with our soul and spirit on an active conscious level. Of course, we are subconsciously. You can never be disconnected from that. But your active conscious level, you will literally be stuck in kind of like loops, and there'll be like a depression, or there could be a grieving, and there might not even be things that you understand what's wrong. And then that's what I was saying. You can create you can create illnesses. You can create different layers of dis-ease, right? All layers are connected. Our medical system doesn't teach that anymore, but all layers of connected. I have been doing this work for 3 decades. I've been doing this work for 3 decades. I started it layering it with personal training. And then I started to notice that in personal training, when people wanted to lose weight, they had all these mental blocks. They had all these emotional blocks. Even unforgiveness came into that. A lot of times we carry on extra weight for protection. And so forgiveness can even help our metabolism. But everything manifests on the energetic layer first. So if you look at the auric field, it has the spiritual body or the spirit body, often can be called the dream body. Then you have the mental body, you have the emotional body or the heart, and then you have the physical body. Okay. And everything manifests on energy first. So when you carry around anger, resentment, regret, it creates all of this. Yep. I'm a life coach, and I do alternative healing therapies as well. I do a lot of quantum energetics. I'm more of like a soul activator, and I'm more on the shamanic realms of activation and life coaching. So I help you connect to what your soul guidance is trying to pull you forward and activate within you, as opposed to like the kind of 3D ego-driven life coaching forms of that. I always believe you need to have a whole spirit team for helping you heal and grow. But when you clear the layers of unforgiveness that are lingering inside of you, your weight can change. You can have chronic issues resolve. And now these aren't guarantees or anything. These are just experiences and things that I have seen in my 3 decades of working with people on these things. Now, in personal training, for instance, I was noticing that we would be working really hard, and emotional patterns will make you think a certain way. They can make you feel a certain way. And they will cause you to overeat, for instance, or they'll cause you to binge eat, or they'll cause you to crave foods that aren't good for you, because that's part of that pain and suffering addiction that people can have. And if you look at the other parts of this series, because this is number 5, I touch on those different things. You can have different layers, you could have different wounds, and you could be self-medicating. So we could be self-medicating with food, the chemicals in the food. We can be self-medicating with different substances. We can be self-medicating with different behaviors, different forms of entertainment, different forms of risk, different forms of gambling is a huge one right now. There's a lot of that sports gambling kind of thing going on. But there's all these kinds of ways to self-medicate. And when you start pulling back these layers, you start to really understand where they are. And it can kind of seem overwhelming, especially if you look at the whole series, because you can see that the mother wounds, the inner child, like you think, oh my gosh, this is so overwhelming. There's so much work to be done. But if you partner with divinity, if you partner with your guardian angels, if you partner with your soul, if you partner with a higher power, and you can have other people who have done this work like me help you through it, or there's tons of books out there. There's tons of books, there's tons of help. We're in the era of coaching. Coaching used to only be for the elite. Coaching used to only be for the top 1%, and now it's available to everybody. So there is really no excuse now to have wounds and to not emit your best self anymore, because there's just so much resources out there available to us to help each other. And that's part of a starseed journey as well. Those that resonate as a starseed, you're going to understand that that's why we feel called to help people. So even if we've had some of these front-loaded negative experiences, we are going to still feel called to help people. And the internet has given us a way to do that, that even if you're introverted, you can still get yourself and your work out there, and you can still get your message out to the people that it's meant to do, and you can still get your message out to the lineages. Yeah. So I'll kind of touch on your question, money moves. It's a great question. I started to get into this because I had a lot of gifts and unexplained phenomenon since I was a little child. Being able to communicate with animals, just kinds of spiritual experiences that at the time I didn't have words for, I could not explain. And then I also had front-loaded my karma. I found out later there was just a lot of tumultuousness in my childhood. And as I started my healing journey, I actually didn't believe in anything energetic or quantum energetic when I started, because I didn't really know enough about it, I guess. And when I started to do my own healing work, which started with my physical body, I was having all kinds of issues, all kinds of problems, different kinds of digestive issues, just kind of joint problems, different kind of accidents, reoccurring accidents. reoccurring, issues where I would hurt the same joint all the time, just kind of repetitive patterns. And then I started to heal the physical body, and then it just wasn't enough. So then I started working on the emotional layers, and then I started working on the mental layers, and I found Louise Hay's work, and that connected the emotional mental layers into the physical body. And then that all started to connect back to the soul. And when I started to do that, it started to create a permanent change in my reality. It started to create success. It stopped some of these reoccurring negative patterns going on in my life. And then forgiveness on the topic today, I started to really go deep inside and realize that I had forgiveness that I needed to enact. And when I started enacting that, that also helped to change my life, and that also helped to pull things forward. And that's why I'm sharing this today. That's why I'm so passionate about this, because the things that I went through, which we're not going to get into that on the video today because it is quite intense, I would not wish on my worst enemy. I went through a very dark time in my childhood. Now, fast forward to now, with all the spiritual insight and wisdom that I've had, I am a completely different person. I was always this person in the inside, but I was like many people struggling with the layers of conditioning and the masks that society teaches us to put on ourselves. And so I wasn't able to authentically be myself, even though I knew who that was and who she was inside. I didn't know how to express that on the outside. I was literally felt like I was on a hamster wheel going forward in a way that society expected me to go forward to be successful, but none of those paths were working for me. And so when I started to implement this, not even just with me, just with my clients, we all started to see results that were life-changing, and they were permanent, right? And so coming back to even the weight loss, padding on extra weight, for instance, is a way to protect ourselves, okay? And we can also, if you look up quantum, why do I have this? I keep thinking of quantum energetics, so I'll come back to that. But there's a form of science that is actually shown that it's like basically proven a soul. And it's basically proven that we actually carry our memories in ourselves, that our memories aren't in our brain, they're actually in our microfibules. So I took a life coaching course that was based in quantum energetics about, goodness, 2.5 decades ago in Arizona. And it really was life-changing because it brought through all of these layers that I talked about. So it showed that whenever things are manifested on an energetic field first, and if you go deep enough inside yourself, you have this ancient love and wisdom, and you have this ancient intelligence inside of us. And when you connect to that, it starts to show you the answers. Also, if you think about it, think about a bird and a flock of birds and how they all move together. Think about quantum has become a bit of a buzzword, I know. I sometimes get nervous on lives, so I'll try to do my best to explain it, especially because I'm an empath first, so I do often struggle with the depth of words, but also understand that my soul is here talking to you, and my soul will also give your soul a transmission. And so just understand that your soul is listening just as much as your consciousness is, and it will understand also what I'm saying and the meaning behind what I'm saying. There's like an energetic download if you want to receive it. Of course, always believe in free will and choice that way. But that's why I'm on here. That's why I'm here to help. I believe that Creator speaks through those of us that let it, and this is part of my path and my purpose. So I took this quantum energetics life coaching course, and it just showed me the connection of everything. And one of the gateways to every single key piece of healing was forgiveness, to forgive yourself and to forgive another, to forgive a situation, even to forgive your past. You can forgive a block of time. Sometimes we bind ourselves. We are such powerful creators, and we are so magnificent in our thinking and in our depth and in our complexity that we actually can bind ourselves so deeply, and it sits in the subconscious, and it sits in the subconscious, and it locks us. And often, like, look at our whole culture. Our culture just keeps us busy and stressed out and moving, go. Look over here, distraction, flashy advertisements freaking everywhere. Like, think about when you drive. It just constantly distracts us. And then we have our families, we have our projects, we have our purpose, we have our everything going on, that if we don't take the time, whatever your form of meditating is, we'll talk about that a little bit later too, but to meditate somehow, whether that's through cooking or a movement meditation, or if it's actually sitting down and going inside of ourselves, but to like drop down into ourselves and really go into these layers in a loving and curious way, to really go into these parts of yourself of like where you made mistakes and where you might be ashamed of yourself to see like, okay, what was my motivation there? Why did I do that? Was that connected to any other time? Throat chakra clearing. If was that connected to any other time in my life that really needed healing? And that really, really, that really needed healing. And that really like, you start to connect it back to your inner child, or maybe you connect it to a mother wound and a father wound. And as you start to pull on one thread, you have that map within you. You are like the rose seed knows that it's a rose. The oak tree knows it's an oak tree. The pine seed knows it's a pine tree. Like we have those same coding and that same map inside ourselves, but we were also given free will and consciousness to explore this world. And I truly believe Creator is unconditional love and light. And I believe that we are a co-partner with Creator, because Creator is in us experiencing through our experience as well. And so I do believe in animal spirits as well. I believe animals guide us all the time. I believe that the ecosystem that Creator has left for us, because I believe Creator's left medicine or a solution to every single problem that we could ever have. And part of that is in animals. The animal represents something in the ecosystem, and that's why signs and symbols are very important. If you keep seeing, like, let's use the elephant that you put in the emoji here, John. If you keep putting or seeing an elephant all day long, I would really recommend going and looking up the spiritual meaning of the elephant. Now, the whole thing might not apply to you, but one part might, right? And sometimes those are your power animals, but that's a whole other video, which I will do eventually. So I want to come back to forgiveness. I want to talk about some of the stuff that I channeled about forgiveness before this, okay? So forgiveness, again, is a gift to ourselves. I think at the very beginning, I talked about the poison analogy. When we go around with resentment, there's a part of us that thinks we're protecting ourselves. By replaying the story, it might not happen again. Or by never forgetting, it might not happen again. And by being so mad, we think that's like justice almost, like, I'm never going to let them get away with this. But in the end, we have been fooled into thinking that we are the justice people, and to a point we are. Yes, we have to stand up for our rights, and yes, we have to stand up for grave injustices. But low-level injustices such as this is when the universe can take over for this. This is divine karma. A lot of us are not connected to our Akashic records either, or past lives, so we don't know what is karma that is retributional, and what is karma that's just balancing, and what is karma that's just cleaning it up so that our good karma can come in. And so there's so many different factors involved in this, and our higher self knows about it though. Our soul knows about it. So when we connect actively to our soul, when we clear out all the disruption and all the noise so that we can hear those channels, our divinity, our soul guides us through, and Creator, which I think is pure unconditional source love, whatever you want to call it, our highest wisdom guides us through these layers super easily. We don't have to worry about the complexities of it. You don't have to necessarily worry if it's a mother or father wound right now, or if it's your inner child. Your soul will guide you through all of these aspects if you're asking the right questions. And even if you don't know the right questions, you have a pure heart, and you asking to heal, and you asking to be led to what will fulfill you most, and what will heal the wounds inside of you and create wholeness within you. Those are great, like, broad places to start. Your soul will guide you and direct you there. Okay. Animal spirits are a great way to learn through that too. Sometimes your pets will even just teach you so much about love and pure source energy. Now, I do believe that love on this planet has become convoluted. It's become very much about ego-driven love, and it's gotten more of a human term. And part of the evolution of what we're going through right now, the collective is being called to go through these shadow layers so that we can remove any blocks to Creator's definition of unconditional love. Creator's definition of unconditional love that was here on the very first lineages on this planet, that is what's returning here. It's about kindness, but not kindness that is martyrdom. It's not about being so kind we don't see the bad going on. It doesn't mean that we don't speak up. It doesn't mean that we don't say no. It's true kindness. It's kindness as defined by Creator, is what I would say. Okay. So then forgiveness is also an unshakable restoration of innocence, and it offers freedom. It balances all of your wounding. It balances out any wounding that you have between you, and it dissolves completely any kind of shame or guilt patterns that are in you, because these are different patterns that end up binding ourselves to a certain type. Oh, like, I can never be like that. Or you might be ashamed of mistakes that you made, but we're actually human, and that's how we learn. And as long as you don't repeat those mistakes again, as long as those mistakes weren't detrimental, you can always just learn from them and just commit to never repeating them again, because now you have the wisdom that you gained from that experience to not repeat that. And that's also part of forgiveness. You went through that experience as, low level or horrendous as it was, and now you have the wisdom that that will never happen to you again. That is closed. And especially when you bring forgiveness into it, when you forgive it, it closes the loop completely. Because, so okay, let's pretend you don't forgive something, and then you keep having a similar pattern. Say it's in a relationship, you keep attracting the same kind of person, you keep attracting the same kind of partner, you keep attracting the same kind of challenge, and you're not understanding why. But then it kind of doubles down on that fear, like, okay, see, I have to be vigilant because this is how people are, and I'm never going to get out of this, and like, and then see, you convince yourself that it's protecting you in a way. But if you just forgave it, if it's actually life calling and testing you because it's trying to answer your prayers, because I can guarantee people that are stuck in that loop are also over here praying that they could heal from whatever is plaguing them, and that, oh, I wish this didn't happen anymore. I see other people having different kinds of relationships in this, so why does this keep happening to me? Forgive it. If you can forgive it and then forgive yourself for your part in it, it will close the loop. The wisdom will be integrated, and you will be on either a new timeline or you'll be on a new set of circumstances where that will stop arising, because the unforgiveness is calling for it to be healed. We are self-healing vehicles. Every single layer of our body and our being is healing, okay? And so it knows how to heal, and your system wants to heal, but we fight it. We have these layers of conditioning and programming that disempowers us. And so we have all these kind of lies floating around that actually take away from our power. And so it's really, it really all lays together. And it, when we have, okay, so all I have is words. All I have is words to be able to connect with you. When you start to try to bring words to divine principles, it kind of waters it down. And so you're never really going to understand what I'm talking about until you have the actual experience of experiencing forgiveness. Not just thinking about it, not just hearing the words that I'm saying, but actually to sit with the divine energetic signature. Because remember, energy is information in motion. And when you sit with the energetic signature of forgiveness and you feel the peace that washes over you, and the way that it washes through every single trauma in your life, even if that trauma was cellularly looping in your mind, it washes through, and it literally alchemizes it. It changes it. It changes your perspective on it. It changes your perspective on life. If you think back to a time where all of a sudden you just had such a perception shift, it was like you were going one way in life, you believed one thing, you're having similar experiences to that, and then all of a sudden one thing happened and it shifted everything for you, and you just, in a good way, let's keep it positive, in a good way, and you just never seen life the same after that. That's what forgiveness does to very deeply entrenched situations that are holding us back. How do you lock into something that you have learned? Well, there's different ways to do that. I really like theta healing. So I think if you, I actually have the book here. This is a really good book that helps you lock in different belief systems and patterns. This is something I use a lot for healing, because the mind, the mental layers of the mind and the programming of the mind are some of the deepestly entrenched and hardest to heal, but this will help you heal them so quickly. So this is one of my favorites, and this would be really good for you to lock in things that you learn, because it gets you in the theta brainwave. You can also look up theta frequencies on YouTube, and that will also help to lock in things that you're learning. Okay, so forgiveness. So the soul is eternally innocent, and we can always rebuke or withdraw our agreements with lies and evil. So, okay, so that was a big one. So we actually, I believe in past lives. I'm an Akashic Records keeper. I can see past lives, and again, remember I said that I didn't believe in this stuff until I started having these experiences. Now, my first experience with the Akashic Records is I remembered a life where I had to offer forgiveness. And when I offered that forgiveness, because it was like a process where you're with your guardian angel and they help you bring in this divine layer of forgiveness after you witness your past life. At first, in my understanding of this and my frequency, part of me was like, am I imagining this? Like, what is this? I don't even know. Is this real? I'm like, whatever, I'll still do it. I'm going to surrender to it, because maybe it is real. If it isn't, who cares? It was kind of fun, So I did the process and I surrendered to it and I forgave it, and it actually transmuted so much in my life. At that time, I kept attracting like accidents that were hurting my neck. That completely stopped, completely healed. And then I was also having these relational challenges with authority figures. And literally the day after this meditation, my life changed. It was a meditational healing, because now I've learned that meditations are quantum energetics where you're astro traveling. And so you're actually in the quantum fields, and you're actually in fields of resonance where you can shift things and you can layer them. And if you look at even like authors like Neville Goddard, he actually has a lot of revision meditations that you can go back and relive a moment, and it actually recodes it and rewrites it, because we are in a malleable reality, but we have been conditioned to not really know that. And so a lot of us have these mental booby traps, I call them, and layers and prison layers and entrapment layers. So we're actually kind of steering the ship the right way. But then there's been a lot of people since 2014, especially, just jumping out and learning that we actually have control. And now that group is getting bigger. And this is the split you're going to start to see from 3D to 5D. Okay. And you might even be going through this if you found this today. Okay. But in those things, we also have these connections, because time is a spiral. So we have these connections to any life that we have ever lived. And if you don't believe in that, you're still connected to many different lives through your ancestors and the lives that they lived. And each of us, because we are resonant through the blood that we share, can activate different frequencies in our DNA structure. And then it can become an entrained belief. It can become an entrained pattern. And some people call that family generational curses. And some people call that, some people just call that like, what is it? Like, oh, that always happens in my family. Oh, my whole family is like that. You know, it's like entrenched programs and things. And if you see, actually, you can see they call it in medicine that your genetics determine different disease and things in your body, which I'm not going to say that's not true, but there's more to it than that. So if you say have similar disease patterns in your family, it's because we all eat the same also. You eat the same as your family. Now, if your family eats a lot of processed food, that's going to create a lot of disease. And some people aren't going to like me saying that, but it's true. Our food is very poisoned right now, and it can create a lot of, it has genetic modifications in it that create different DNA structures, which glob onto different DNA structures your family line has activated, and it can create the same illnesses and chronic patterns. But you have the power through all of this stuff to also take control of that through going into these layers, and you can also make changes in that. And a lot of this is a shadow integration work. It's really easy to do spiritual work that's light and fun and bubbly and love and rainbows and unicorns. A lot of people can do that. That's why spirituality has become mainstream right now. But the real ones and the ones that understand what I'm talking about, or maybe you who've come here and you might need the next layers of this, is the shadow integration work. The shadows are harder because we don't want to maybe go look at the mistakes we had. Maybe we're embarrassed that we acted that way. And then we just kind of was like, oh, I acted that way, I'll never do it again, shoved it away, right? But if you actually go into that, like, why did I act that way? What was going on? When did this last happen? And you ask your higher divinity inside of you, was this mine? Was this an ancestral like loop that's going on? Can I close it? Can I heal it? And we are the physical representations of our bloodline right now. And because we're in the evolutionary stage at the end of Kali Yuga, we are unfortunately responsible for healing so much in our family line. But our souls knew, and it agreed to this, and it came down. It had to be part of your soul contract. But we weren't supposed to do it alone. Okay, we are still having a human experience. As humans are definitely weakened right now. They are not living to full capacity. We're not even using like 10% of our brains. But when you actually start to come into your spiritual senses and allow your spiritual auric layer to now govern your emotional body, your mental body, your physical body again, you start to come into wholeness. You start to be able to heal all of these fragmented pieces. Because it's another thing that happens. When you have a trauma in a past life, you fragment off pieces of yourself and it gets left there. You need that divinity to call it back, to clean it up, and then to pull it back into you. And then you can show up with power, wholeness, and presence. So what happens if you choose to bypass this work? Well, if you choose to bypass this work, okay, so a couple different things. So we've been through a really long cycle where we could bypass it as much as we want. I truly believe in this end of Kali Yuga right now, we're not actually allowed to bypass it and as much anymore. So right now, I don't believe we are allowed to bypass it. Like, if it will keep showing up, it'll keep showing up, it'll keep showing up. Now, and it'll be more persistent. Whereas before, we could bypass it and kind of move it along, and then maybe something else would show up and we were ready to deal with that. We were strong enough, so we would just deal with it. Now, if you bypass it also, it depends where you are in your spiritual growth journey too. If you're just awakening, the bypassing will be easier. It'll be easier to go to sleep, but you'll have more heaviness, more tiredness, more anxiety. without really understanding what's going on. Your day-to-day might be completely peaceful, and you're just like, why am I so anxious? Like, what is bothering me? So it's kind of like a low level like that. If you bypass it, it can show up as illness. It can show up as colds. Like, say you're getting a lot of colds in your throat, in your heart. That's grief. That's energetics that are trying to speak to you, but we haven't put any words or language or solution to it or brought any divinity to it. So we might get chronic colds. That's a good example. Okay. Now, I want to talk about how the soul is internally innocent. Okay. And then I want to talk about that past life thing. So say in a past life, you got betrayed. Okay. And you had a fight with somebody and you were like, I'm never going to love again, or I'm never going to do that again. We are creators. So instantly you create an entity, let's call it, for lack of a better term, but it's basically a collection of energy that's going to do what you say. It's going to never let you do that thing again. So sometimes, depending on how long we've been, how many past lives we've had on this realm, you will have a collection of those things. So in the quantum energetic work that I do, we go look at the soul contract, we clean it up, we clean off any karma that has been kind of rising and can be cleaned off over the last 5 years. Karma has been changing. That's another video too. You can go on my channel. I have videos about karma on there and I talk about it in there. But you can clean all of that off and you can kind of withdraw any agreements that you might have made. Or you could have made agreements with evil or with lies when different powers were in play, right? So if you think about the Dark Ages, for instance, there was a lot of evil going on within those authorities and within the different processes of the way they laid out justice and the superstitions and the power grabs and the political moves and the changes of monarchy. And there was mental illness even there, okay? But they are... we made, basically my point is we made agreements with lies and evil that might still be playing in your subconscious now. And we might know better now, but that's what our ancestors or even us had to do in those lives to survive. And we made those agreements. And now is the time to revoke those agreements. And you can literally, your cells and your body everything is sovereign. You can't actually sell your soul. People think you can. You can't actually do that. And all that can happen is that something can convince you, like our society is trying to do right now, that you are disempowered, that you cannot create your reality, that you could sell your soul, but your soul can never lose its innocence. Your soul can never actually be sold, we'll say. So it's the same thing with yourselves. If you want to heal something, you can literally say, I rebuke. It's such a religious word. I'm not overly religious, but I use the true definitions of these words as pure source energy gives them to me, so they don't bother me and they don't trigger me. Sorry if anyone's getting triggered about religion, but I rebuke, I withdraw any agreements that I have ever made with lies or evil that is withholding me from my highest true purpose and my wholeness and my sovereignty as a pure loving soul and source light. So you can say things like that, and your energetic field will start to do some work for you in the healing. Now, there is some stuff we have to witness consciously. It's just where we're at. And then it is nice to witness that sometimes with people who are already doing this work and already in their divinity, because their sight will help your sight, their clarity will help you, and they will help you through any of the kind of rougher patterns. But I always say you should have a whole healing team anyway. You should have something for the mind, so therapy. You should have mind and heart, so that's like therapy to me, and coaching, physio, chiropractor, naturopath, doctor. You should have all of them. You should have a whole well-rounded team that gives you all kinds of perspective on all of it. And then you should have energy workers that can also give you soul medicine and see into the soul and see what you need there. Okay, so I do always say that. Okay, so then what else did I channel about this before? So there's false power that nefarious forces hold over us that causes us to agree and believe lies about ourselves and the world. And this locks us into guilt and shame spirals and unforgiveness. Because if we're in guilt or shame spirals and we're not forgiving, we're actually imprisoning ourselves. We're actually sitting there and we've locked ourselves into almost like a glass ceiling type of thing, that we cannot get any bigger, we cannot expand, and we are meant for infinite expansion. We are actually not supposed to fit into one box or bubble, but you can notice that society really tries to push us there. And especially if you resonate as a divine feminine in this life, you're going to know that you have a lot of passions and it's going to feel hard to choose just one. Okay. So that's part of the push and pull or the spiritual warfare I like to talk about about good versus evil that's going on too, is like, how can they distract us? How can they lock us in? How can they make us feel shame or guilty or small so that we don't expand out into our true potential and power? Okay, so these patterns will lock us into distorted beliefs and views of ourselves, right? That's that disempowerment I just talked about. And because we're magnetic beings, we're going to mirror and attract that state that we're in. So even if you try to change this, okay, so let's just say that I realized something about myself today and I started to be like, hey, I'm an expansive, you're watching this and you're like, I'm an expansive soul. I am an expansive soul. I'm a co-creator of my reality. Okay, I've realized this now. Now what do I do? Right? And so that will be enough to start to shift things in your energy field. But if we don't go in and clean up, like imagine cleaning your house with a blindfold on. Like how clean do you think it's going to get? Right? Like you'll probably get cleaner than it was before, but it's not going to be as clean as if you're like looking in every nook and cranny and just getting everything that you can see and really doing a detailed, thorough clean. Your inner world is like that as well. The problem is that humans ruminate and we hyperfixate and we are limited in our being. So you want to pair that with divinity so that you are connected to the highest consciousness that is. You're connected to the universal cosmic heart and the universal cosmic intelligence within you so that it can shine a light into those areas and clean up things in a massive way in a smaller amount of time and super thoroughly by just alchemizing it and getting rid of it. Modern therapy will circle the problem constantly too, so that's why I say you don't just do that alone, okay? When you do some of the stuff that I just talked about, your frequency is going to change, and this is going to change your inner circumstances and everything that happens, then they say so as within, so without, or they say as above, as below. Everything is a mirror. Everything in our reality is a mirror. So as you create this purified inner world and temple, and you really go into yourself and start to meet yourself, and you see how beautiful your soul is, you see that cosmic intelligence and love that exists within you, and you really start to realize the magnificence and beauty of your soul, and you get through these layers of forgiveness because the forgiveness starts to unlock things inside of you. Whenever we're in grief, whenever we've had a loss, when we don't forgive, all of the bad memories locks all of the good memories. So when you remove all of that negativity, it actually unlocks all the good memories for you. And that's pretty much sums up how forgiveness works inside the system as well. There'll be binds and locks. Remember those glass ceilings or those bubbles that I talked about? And then you pop them and all of this beauty and all of this good comes out. And when you really start to get into yourself and you see the magnificence of your inner world and you meet your soul, it can be a really emotional moment. I've had this myself. I've had this with many, many clients where they actually met their soul and they were like, oh my God, like I cannot believe I treated myself like that for so long. I am so beautiful. I can't believe I thought of myself in this way when I have this magnificence inside of me. And then that ignites a new path and a new frequency that we'll talk about in another video. Where does forgiveness fall into your teaching? So it really just depends on the individual for forgiveness. Okay. So again, like these lives and stuff, I'm talking to a collective audience. So for me, I get a little bit overwhelmed with the energy because it's hard to speak totally to one specific person. It really depends on your life and your experience. And what happens in my teachings and my sessions is we go into your actual field and we check your chakras, and your chakras will tell me a lot about your personal experience. Everyone could have different layers of fragments in their chakras. Their chakras could be going the wrong way. Some could be more active than others. And information is stored in these chakras, energy centers in your body. It's like a computer and a hard drive. And so these energetic storehouses will give me information that I need to help understand where forgiveness, where we start with forgiveness for you. You will also have an inkling, and in session, your soul and my soul and your spirit team and my spirit team are speaking to each other. So I get insights and inclinations of like what that's going to serve you, where best is it going to go. We also carry woundings in those energy fields in our body. So I'm able to tune in and tap into those places. And then that also helps give me more specific information to the individual having the session, if that makes sense. Now, forgiveness in the teaching, you can't force someone to be ready for forgiveness. None of my work is about forcing anybody to do anything. And I don't even want people to be reliant on my work. To be honest, I'm actually an introvert. Okay, so it's actually really hard for me to come on YouTube, but creator really needs my unique perspective and my unique experience and my testament to come out to help other people to understand they're not alone, and to help to anchor down some of this 5D work that's going to be going on, because the 5D is going to be led with energetic therapy and energetic, it's going to be led with energy, and energy speaks louder than words. And so all of this transmission ends up coming through. But with forgiveness, forgiveness arises when you're ready. So typically I will start most new clients out with a forgiveness exercise, kind of like I talked about at the very beginning of the video. Don't know if you were here, Money Moves, but at the very beginning, I talked about just even doing a basic forgiveness list. So just start a list tonight. You can just keep it wherever you want in your house and just add to it every day. And I want you to, it doesn't need to be long. You can, if you want to write down a whole story of what you need to forgive, go ahead. It's your list. You do whatever you want with it. I like point form. I want to just get it out of me. And so I set the energetic intention that whatever I'm writing on this list, I'm releasing from my system. I'm either no longer willing to tolerate it, or I'm just releasing it and it's going to go and be burned with that paper or go in the garbage, whatever you end up doing with the paper. Okay. And this list might be big. It might be many, many, many pages. Okay. So I kind of pray over that paper and set that intention. And then I start adding to it, whatever I can remember. Maybe just things that come to mind that I'm still like, oh, that still just makes me so mad, or that still pisses me off. And then I write down things that irritate me, things that are maybe even minor annoyances, or just anything that needs to be forgiven. Anything that you can think of that comes to mind. If I say, what do you need to forgive? You can even sit with your hands on your heart and speak to your heart, because your cells, your body, your being, your vessel will respond back to you. It listens to you. You are its world. You are the center of its universe. So you can go ahead and put your hands on your heart and say, like, what do I need to forgive? And then just start writing those on the list. And don't overthink it. There's no wrong or right way to do it. You're just getting it out. Just get it out and do that for a few days. Where are we? We just came from a new moon. It was 3 days ago. Sorry, we just came from a full moon. If you're on the Western Hemisphere, it was 3 days ago. So that means that in 11 more days, there's going to be a new moon. So 25 more days is going to be a full moon. So I would just keep making this list until the next full moon, and then I would burn it. I would burn it, or I would rip it up. I would throw it to some, just once you're done the forgiveness list, you throw it away. But forgiveness is a process you need to revisit more and more and more. Now, this basic forgiveness list that I'm talking about, you can also just end it when you feel like you're done. You've gotten a lot of stuff out of your energetic field by writing it on the paper. You can actually just say, I'm willing to trade my pain for peace. I am giving this to my angels and my guides to help me release this from my energetic field. I am no longer willing to carry around the poison or the bullets or the pain of other people. I am releasing it. It is going to be transmuted. So you can write that on the bottom of the list, or you could speak that over the list. And then you just, like I said, you rip it up. You can dissolve the ink and paper. Some people do it. I like to burn my list, but I have fire safe area to do that with. So be safe and be careful out there if you do it that way. But that's a really good way to start. Now, some of the other forgiveness pieces, depending on the layers of trauma or darkness you may have experienced in your life, that might need more help. That might take a bit bigger pieces of it, and that might take more meditative work. That might take a divine helper or a divine guide that can hold space for you in love and understanding, and hold a higher wisdom for you. Because when we're in the emotion and to forgive, sometimes you have to go back in and if you have a good guide or a good healer, you shouldn't have to re-experience something, but sometimes we do need that physical release, depending on how much we've been holding back the floodgates of emotion. So it really just depends. It really just depends on the person. And then that's when you really want someone who knows what they're doing, that can hold space for you, that's not going to judge you, that's gone through this themselves, and it's going to allow you to be raw and real in that process, and both bring your divinity into that. And this is why I'm a big proponent of energy work. And that was also part of how I started getting into energy work, because I had people, really amazing healers, that held space for me in that way, and were able to help me just move through some really big, dark challenges that I had been carrying around since childhood. So, well, I'm so glad you're going to try that in forgiveness. I have a lot of videos on my channel with different aspects and different kind of tips and tricks and tools that you can. And I like to make sure that I'm guiding you to your own empowerment. I don't want you to be reliant on me forever if you work with me. I want you to access your own soul capacities, your soul gifts, and your own inspiration, and your own access to divine channels that can guide you through anything, even if I wasn't there. So, okay. personal question. I don't know what that means. What does blank and block mean? And what's the personal question that you want to ask? I'm going to look at my notes. See if I meant that. Yeah, forgiveness really just gives you a clean slate, I think, is the last thing I want to say about this for today. And then I think I want to take you guys through a theta healing session where we're just going to release some, we're just going to do a general theta healing session. If you want to participate, we're going to release unforgiveness, resentment, revenge, regret, and remorse, or revenge, regret, remorse. Remorse can be good, but remorse can also lock us into like too much grieving, too much apathy, too much martyrism. I thought there was another word. Okay, maybe that's all. But if you would like to participate in a theta healing session, we will go ahead and do that now. So if you want, you're just going to get nice and comfortable. So I had my legs crossed. So we're just going to put our feet on the ground to get nice and grounded. We're going to take some cleansing breaths. So in through the nose, out through the mouth. I'm going to most likely keep my eyes open. I will close them sometimes. I would invite you to close down your eyes or soft gaze forward. And again, inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. And you're just inhale, gather up any tension in the body, all the way from the toes, all the way from the subtle creases and crevices of the body, all the way to the crown. And exhaling out the mouth, you're releasing it all, giving it to the earth to transmute for you. And you might even be able to tune into the tendrils and the essence inside your body, inside yourself. And you're just going to start to see those beautiful tendrils of light all around the body. And just start to grow them down into the earth, connecting with the earth in a nice reciprocal relationship where you're just giving energy and receiving energy from the earth. And even flow. She's giving to you and you're giving to her. It's a beautiful figure 8. Grounding in. And you can place your hands on your heart if you want some more connection to love. You can place a hand on the belly and the heart if you want a connection to your internal intelligence, your internal wisdom, the deepest ancient pieces of love within yourself. Or you can just place your hands on your belly. And I want you to inhale, the belly expands. And exhale, the navel hugs in. And I'm going to speak some downloads and some releases from you. You have free will. You can always say yes or no. If you want to receive any of the healing I speak about today, you can say yes, keeping that hand on the heart and the belly. If you don't want to receive it, you can say no, thank you. That's fine as well. And so breathing nice and deep, I call in creator of all that is. And I ask for the beautiful collective participating in this video today, whether on the live recording or later on in all directions of space and time, to be healed and mended. And we ask for any programs of unforgiveness, resentment, revenge, regret, remorse, retribution, to be pulled from them now. At all layers and all levels of DNA, especially historical and genetical. To be canceled, completed, and resolved, gathered up and sent to Creator's light for purification. And that these programs are now replaced within them and downloaded, that I know what it feels like to know my true divine definition of divinity and worth. I know Creator's definition of me. I know what it feels like to live in Creator's definition of love. I know what it feels like to live in Creator's definition of peace. You can just say yes to any of these programs if you'd like to download them. I know what it feels like to live in Creator's definition of letting go. I know what it feels like to live as a co-creator of my reality, guided by Creator. I know what it feels like to emanate pure source, unconditional love as Creator defines it. I know what it feels like to be guided by my highest self, the highest levels of intelligence and cosmic love from the universe at all times, through all adversities, and through my purpose and my highest goals in life. I'm just breathing nice and deep. You might feel some air pressure changes as this comes in through the back of the head. You might feel them coming in through the spine, some tingling. Beautiful. And we say, thank you, Creator. Thank you, thank you, thank you for the healing. And really feel that gratitude come and flood your body. Be thankful and grateful for your healing. Be thankful and grateful for yourself. Feel the gratitude for your body and all that it does to you does for you without you asking. How it keeps you alive and keeps your heart beating. All the functioning that it does on its own. And think of 3 more things that make you feel truly grateful to be alive, or about your life, or for you to be you. Really feel that gratitude and let it flood your body and flood your system. Beautiful. And thank Creator, universe, God, whatever is the highest definition of love and light and unity within your experience. And I hope that you enjoyed this series. This, like I said, is part 5 in the series. There's a few more left. I really believe I do have another channel, 13 Moons Oracle, if you want to just go and get some soul activations and some healings. I do a lot of astro travel meditational healings on that channel, but even the readings themselves are soul activations. Oh, you're welcome, Linus. Thank you. Soul activations there, and the reading themselves will activate different things within your DNA. It will activate different things within your experience and connect you to different versions of your timeline. And I always want the highest and best good for you. I always want you to be healthy, happy, healed, whole, abundant. So all of that will come through the energies in these videos and on that channel as well. And I really love you. I want the best for you always. I'm praying for you, and I will see you on the next one. Namaste.